Well, it's finally happened. For the first time in almost a year, the family and I were able to go on a little vacation. And obviously it wasn't across any international borders or anywhere exotic, but it was a vacation nonetheless. And it was in beautiful Whistler, British Columbia, which to me is not somewhere foreign or exotic, but I understand to most people around the world, Whistler is somewhere that they probably really want to visit. And I really take it for granted that we have all this great stuff in and around Vancouver and the south coast of British Columbia, but man, it was so great to just not be here. With it being my first trip in quite some time and my first chance to take any meaningful photos, I felt very overwhelmed with what kind of gear I should bring, and my normal urge would be to just sort of bring everything. I decided to, with the encouragement of some of my friends on social media, bring a really minimal kit with me. So one camera, one lens only, and then my smartphone for video. And that's what I did. So the camera and the lens that I brought with me were the Fujifilm X-Pro3 and the reasonably brand new XF18mm f1.4. I'm going to talk about both of these things in this review. I'm not really going to go into technical specs on the X-Pro3. I feel like it's been out long enough. If you want a technical spec video about this camera, there are plenty of those out there, but if you're familiar with the specs for the XT4, the XE4, it's essentially the same internals minus the IBIS from the XT4, but plus a dual card slot over the XE4. But other than that, internally they're pretty much the same. I'm going to try to focus on the ergonomics of this camera, which I found very unique. I think I'll say that for now, and I'll sort of dive into it later. And I'm also going to talk about the 18mm f1.4, which I have to say was phenomenal. This is a great lens, and sort of the only drawback for me is its size. It's not a small lens. It's about the same size. Let me grab my vlogging camera here. It's about the same size as the XF 18 to 55 f2.8 to 4. This one's got a flip out filter mount on it, making it a little bit bigger, but it's roughly the same size. It's a little bit wider, but you know, same length, but obviously you're getting f1.4, so I would imagine that that definitely factors into the size of this lens. We did some hiking. There's a short little hike called Nairn Falls. It's a mile in, a mile back, or for my Canadian friends, 1.6 kilometers each way. And it's an easy hike, but the waterfall at the end is very impressive. And with the record heat wave that we've been having here, the snow melt is happening fast and furious. So the falls were very, very active, more than I've seen ever. And I've been going to Nairn Falls since the 90s. So that was really something to see. There's also a beautiful art museum in Whistler, the O'Dane Art Museum, which the museum itself is just a stunning building, and especially at night it is beautiful. And this 18mm f1.4 lens was the perfect lens to photograph that building at night. Fast aperture, letting in lots of light, and a nice wide angle. We also ate at a restaurant for the first time in a year. Admittedly, on the patio, the restrictions have eased enough here that we could have eaten inside. Personally, I'm just not quite there yet, so we ate on the patio. One of my favorite restaurants in the entire world. Shout out to Alta Bistro in Whistler Village. This 18mm f1.4 is also a fantastic candid portrait lens, and it's great for food photography as well. It's such a versatile lens. That 18mm field of view, it's a 27mm equivalent full frame. It is nice and wide, very versatile. The autofocus is outstanding. The images are sharp as anything, even wide open. The in-focus areas are fantastic, and the contrast and the colors that come off this lens, obviously they're going to be great. So the lens comes with a pedal style hood, which might actually be the exact same hood as the 18 to 55. It's really close anyways. At $999, it's a pricey lens. You know, $1,000 is no joke. But if you need a fast, wide lens, it's a great choice. You can vlog with this lens, even though I didn't. That probably would have been helpful for this quick review, but yeah, I didn't vlog or take really any video with this camera, and I'll tell you why in a sec. You can probably guess why, but it's a phenomenal lens. So for my Canadian viewers, that's about $1,250 Canadian, I think. Is that right? Yeah, about $1,250, $1,270 something. Let's talk about the X-Pro3. Now, it's a camera that's been out for a while. It came out while I was on my camera reviewing hiatus. So I'd actually asked to review the XT200 because a few of you have asked if I've had any experience with that camera, and I haven't, and I would like to try it out, but Fujifilm doesn't have any review units. So the X-Pro3 is a very interesting camera. I'm an X-Pro1 owner, not from when the X-Pro1 came out. I bought one used a couple of years ago. It's a great camera. I loved the X-Pro2, which was actually the first camera that I was ever lent by Fujifilm to do a review. Yeah, so the X-Pro2 is a camera that I definitely have fond memories of. And it had the same ISO setup as this one, where you've got the ISO dial on the top of the camera, and it's like a film camera. You pull it up and turn it, and then you've also got your shutter speed. I actually really like that ISO dial. I know it's pretty divisive. I liked it on the X-Pro2, and I like it here on the X-Pro3. I like the buttons on the back of the camera. I'll probably stick some video in here that I took of what the camera looks like with all the buttons and everything. I like that there's lots of real estate for your thumb. I like that the Q button is in a place where you're not going to accidentally push it, and then there's a customizable button right above it. I like that they've kept the focus selector switch on the front. The EVF is quite good. The OVF is obviously just an optical viewfinder, but the information displayed is great. Where this camera really falls apart for me, and I was shocked to find that I wasn't a fan, was the rear screen. So this camera's kind of infamous for, first of all, these fingerprints that I have all over it, but it's kind of infamous for this rear screen. I'll probably again put up video of the screen here. That's got this small window in the back. You can either have an information display typical to like a top LCD display on like a GFX camera or an XH1, or you can have what looks like the old holder for the top of a film box, and it shows you what film simulation you're using, shows you what ISO you have it at, and it shows you what your white balance is, and that's pretty much it when you have it on that mode. The rear screen, for me, it looks really cool. I wish it was brighter. It's not backlit at all, and if there is a way to backlight it, man, I couldn't find it in the menu. So if it's out there, put it down in the comments. Maybe I missed it, and I'll pin a comment to the top of this video. But when you're in bright light, depending on the angles you're looking at, like, you can't see this screen. The viewing angles are horrendous. I also thought that I would like having this rear screen hidden the way it is. Oh, I have it turned on. Hey, look at that. That's my shirt. Because I really enjoy shooting with... There's two cameras that I own that I enjoy shooting with because you can't really view the image on the back. One is my Fujifilm S2 Pro, which is like a 20-year-old digital DSLR based on a Nikon D80, I believe. You know, and I also have numerous film cameras where obviously you can't see your images that you're taking, you can't preview them. But what I found is, because I know the capabilities of this camera and I know, you know, to go through the menus, I'm always changing stuff in the menus with Fujifilm cameras, whether it's switching between film simulations, switching between RAW and JPEG. I like to have quick access to that menu, and unless you have that screen flipped down or you're looking through the viewfinder, you don't have that access. Now, the screen is great. It's a touch screen. It's, you know, the same as any other current Fuji camera. The touchscreen is fairly responsive. It's got all the same menu system, so if you're used to Fuji's menus, they're fine. But I just, in operation, found it so clunky and not really something that I enjoyed. And I thought when I first saw this camera that that was the coolest thing I had seen in a long, long time. And in actual use, I didn't like it at all. And I'm still shocked by that. I thought, like I said, I thought that I would love it. I thought that it was like the, what's that Leica, that digital Leica M mount that doesn't have any image playback at all, no screen whatsoever. That seems interesting to me, but this, because I know it's there, I find that I'm still going to use it quite often, and it was just really annoying. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And, you know, this camera has very decent video capabilities, but because of the screen it has, I can't imagine anybody would have a lot of enjoyment ergonomically using this camera for video. The option is there if you need it. It can take excellent video, but in actual use, it's kind of terrible. It really is. I'm proud of Fujifilm for pushing the boundaries here, because I think that was a very bold move to essentially half eliminate the back screen. Like, it's still there, but it's like an extra step to use. I'm sure some people love it, and that's cool, and I wish I was one of them, but for me, yeah, it was just a big, big miss. But image quality wise and autofocus and everything, especially with this this XF18mm f1.4, it's a fantastic combo. I didn't shoot this lens on any other camera because I wanted to really get a feel for this X-Pro3, and having this lens and just bringing this with me kind of forced me to see things differently than I normally would if I had multiple lenses in my bag, or if I had some zoom lenses in my bag, or whatever. Having a set focal length, a wide focal length like this, like I've done, the closest I've done to this, I think, is just traveling with my X70, or traveling with the 27mm pancake lens, the f2.8. I have the original version. So for me, I think that's a bit better of a travel lens because it's so small, and then obviously the X70 you can slip into the back pocket of your jeans, and it's got that wonderful f2.8 lens. So yeah, I gotta say, I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful, beautiful camera. It's gorgeous. The X-Pro3 is the sexiest camera that Fujifilm has ever made, and the looks of this rear screen, I mean, it's the bee's knees. Is that what the kids say? But in use, I hated it. I just did not like it at all. Fujifilm, thank you so much for lending me this gear. If you guys have any questions about the X-Pro3 or this wonderful XF18mm f1.4, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got some film content coming up very soon, and I'm actually struggling. I got this, I don't know if you guys can see this light above my monitor here. Do you see it there? That's this, it's this really cool desk lamp from BenQ. They sent it to me about a month ago, and it's awesome. It's dimmable. Is that working? Yeah, it's dimmable, and it's got this little control dial that you put on your desk, and it just clears up so much space on your desk. I'm trying to work it into a video somehow, and I just keep mentioning it randomly, hoping that's good enough for them. I know it won't be, but I'm gonna have to talk about it in its own video coming up, because it's an expensive light, and I feel bad that I haven't made a video about it yet. So BenQ, it's coming, I promise. I'm sorry. Anyways, I'll probably see you in that video or another video or something. That's it, I'm done.